Ilara thought the hard part was getting her boss to admit he loved her. Then the scandal broke. The internet called her a gold digger, and she learned that loving a billionaire meant becoming public property. The question was whether their love was strong enough to survive the spotlight. Welcome back to Proudly American Stories, my beautiful, amazing Pride family. You all have been so supportive, and I promise to always try my best to give you the best stories as I learn and improve every day. If this is your first time coming across my video, do comment below where you're watching from and hit subscribe to officially join the Pride family. Now, let's get into today's story. The first time Julian Sterling noticed Ilara Vance, she was arguing with his head of security in the lobby of Sterling Global on a Tuesday morning in late September. He was on his way to a board meeting, mind already 3 moves ahead in a negotiation that would either save 200 jobs or gut them, when he heard her voice cut through the marble and glass atrium like a bell, clear and unafraid. "I understand you have protocols, but I'm telling you, I have an interview scheduled for 9 hours and it's 8:57. So, unless you want to explain to whoever hired me why I'm late, I suggest you make a call." Julian paused, half hidden behind a column, watching. She was young, mid-20s maybe, in a navy suit that was trying very hard to look expensive, but wasn't quite succeeding. Her dark hair was pulled back in a bun that had already started to rebel, wisps curling at her temples. She held a worn leather portfolio against her chest like armor, chin lifted, spine straight. The security guard, Dominic, a former Marine who didn't rattle easily, looked genuinely flustered. Julian stepped forward. "Dominic, is there a problem?" Both of them turned. The woman's eyes, dark brown and currently flashing with irritation, met his, and something uncomfortable twisted in his chest. He ignored it. Dominic straightened. "Mr. Sterling, sir, this young woman says she has an interview, but she's not in the system." "Vance," the woman said, looking directly at Julian. "Ilara Vance, 9 o'clock with," she glanced at her phone, "Natalie Thorne in Human Resources." Julian pulled out his phone, scanned his calendar. Natalie had forwarded him the interview schedule last week. He'd approved it without much attention. Executive assistant position replacing the woman who'd left for Boston. There, Vance, Ilara. 9. He showed the screen to Dominic. "She's cleared. Send her up." Dominic nodded, apologetic. Ilara exhaled, some of the fight leaving her shoulders. She looked at Julian. Really looked, and he watched the moment she registered who he was. Her eyes widened slightly, color creeping up her neck. "Thank you," she said, and her voice had changed, softened. He hated it. "Don't thank me," he said, already moving toward the elevator. "Just don't be late." He felt her watching him as he walked away. He didn't look back. 3 hours later, Natalie knocked on his office door. Julian was on his 4th coffee reviewing contracts when she entered. "The Vance interview," Natalie said, sitting without being asked, which was why he liked her. "She's good. Incredibly good. Double major communications and business from Northwestern. Interned at Bloom. Worked at a startup that folded, freelanced for a year. She's sharp, organized, and she doesn't take any nonsense." Julian didn't look up. "Then hire her." "There's a problem now." He looked up. "What kind of problem?" "She's 24, and she's—" Natalie paused, choosing words carefully. "Striking. You know how the board gets about optics?" Julian set down his pen. "Are you seriously telling me we can't hire a qualified candidate because she's young and attractive?" "I'm telling you I want to hire her, but I need you to be aware, especially with Isabel's lawyers still circling." The mention of his ex-wife's name made his jaw tighten. The divorce had been finalized for 3 years, but Isabel treated it like an ongoing war she was determined to win. "Hire her," Julian said flatly. "Anyone who has a problem with it can discuss it with me directly." Natalie smiled. "That's what I hoped you'd say. She starts Monday." Julian returned to his contracts, already forgetting the conversation, or trying to. Ilara's first day began at 7:30 in the morning, which was 30 minutes before she was technically required to arrive. But she'd learned a long time ago that early was on time, and on time was late. The office was already buzzing, a hive of ambitious people in expensive suits moving with purpose. She found her desk outside Julian's office, a sleek modern workspace with 2 monitors and a phone system that looked like it could launch satellites. Natalie appeared with coffee. "He gets in at 8, leaves around 7, sometimes later. He takes his coffee black, no sugar, and he'll forget to eat lunch if you don't remind him. He's curt, but it's not personal. Don't take it personally." Ilara nodded, memorizing. "What else?" "His daughter, Audrey, she's 16. She'll call sometimes, always put her through. His ex-wife, Isabel, she'll also call. Use your judgment, but generally make him unavailable. And," Natalie's expression turned serious, "he's a good man, probably the best I've ever worked for, but he's been through a lot. He doesn't," she paused, "he doesn't let people in, so don't expect warmth, expect competence and respect if you earn it." At 8:03, the elevator doors opened and Julian Sterling stepped out, flanked by 2 men in suits, all of them talking rapidly about stock positions and market volatility. He was taller than Ilara remembered, at least 6'2", in a charcoal suit that was definitely bespoke, hair dark with silver threading through it, cut precisely. He had the kind of face that would photograph well, but looked better in motion, all sharp angles and intensity. He didn't glance at her as he passed. The 2 men peeled off. Julian disappeared into his office, and 30 seconds later the intercom on her desk buzzed. "I need the Henderson files, the revised contract from legal, and whoever scheduled me for a lunch meeting today needs to unschedule it. I don't do lunch meetings." Ilara pressed the button. "Good morning, Mr. Sterling. The Henderson files are already on your desk, left side. Legal sent an hour ago. It's in your email, flagged priority. And you scheduled the lunch meeting yourself 2 weeks ago with Senator Hayes. It's regarding the infrastructure bill. Would you still like me to cancel?" Silence then. "No, thank you." She smiled at her computer screen. Small victory. By the end of week 1, Ilara had reorganized his filing system, rescheduled 3 conflicts Natalie had missed, and solved a catering crisis for a board dinner by personally driving to Bistro Blue and charming the manager into a same-day order. Julian hadn't said much beyond directives and the occasional fine or good, but she'd caught him watching her twice, expression unreadable. It was Friday evening, nearly 8 Corn, and the office had emptied hours ago. Ilara was finishing expense reports when Julian emerged from his office, jacket off, tie loosened, sleeves rolled to his elbows. She'd never seen him, even slightly disheveled. It was, she realized with some alarm, extremely attractive. "You're still here," he said, and it wasn't quite a question. "Almost done," she replied, not looking away from her screen, even though she could feel his presence like heat. "It's late." He crossed to her desk, and she could smell his cologne now, something clean and expensive with cedar undertones. "Ilara." She looked up. He was standing close enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. And those eyes were tired, she realized, shadows underneath them. "You don't have to prove anything," he said quietly. "Natalie gave you a good recommendation. You're doing excellent work. Go home." It was the most words he'd strung together to her all week, and the gentleness in them caught her off guard. "Are you going home?" she asked. His mouth twitched, almost a smile. "No, then respectfully, sir. Neither am I. You have the Wexler presentation Monday, and half the graphics are wrong. I'd like to fix them." He studied her. something shifting in his expression. "It's Julian, not sir. And the graphics are wrong. How?" She turned her monitor so he could see the market projection data. "It's displaying last quarter's numbers, not this quarter's. And the font?" She hesitated. "What about the font?" "It's," she searched for diplomatic phrasing, "not ideal for readability." "You think my presentations have bad fonts?" "I think whoever designed this template in 2008 didn't anticipate modern display resolutions now." He did smile, just barely. A ghost of amusement. "Fix it. I'll order dinner. Do you eat Thai?" She blinked. "Yes." "Good. There's a place on North Ave that delivers. Spring rolls, please." He pulled out his phone, placed an order from memory, then did something that surprised her. He dragged a chair from a nearby desk and sat down next to her. "Show me what you're thinking." They worked for 2 hours, side by side, and Alara tried very hard not to notice how good he smelled, or how his voice dropped lower when he was focused, or the way his hands moved when he explained complex financial concepts, elegant and sure. He was brilliant, that was obvious, but he was also patient, listening to her suggestions, considering them, implementing half, and good-naturedly debating the other half. The Thai food arrived. They ate at her desk, containers spread between them, and somehow the conversation drifted from work to the city. How she'd grown up here. Loved it despite its flaws. Wanted to see it grow. He told her about building Sterling Global from the ground up. The mistakes he'd made, the risks that paid off, and the ones that didn't. "Why an executive assistant?" he asked, setting down his chopsticks, looking at her with genuine curiosity. "You have a business degree. You could be doing a lot of things." She shrugged. "Well, one doesn't just get up one morning and start up a business without financial backing. Plus, I wanted to learn a few things from someone who—" She paused, suddenly self-conscious. "What?" "Nothing really, though. I mean, I just wanted to experience what the business world feels like, the ups and downs, before getting into any—" He held her gaze, and the air between them shifted, charged. Alara felt her pulse quicken. Julian stood abruptly. "It's late. I'll have Dominic walk you to your car." The moment broke. She nodded, gathering her things, confused by the sudden distance. "Alara," he said as she reached for her coat. She turned. He was silhouetted against his office windows, the city skyline glittering behind him. Snorts. "Thank you for tonight, for the work." "Of course," she managed. "Have a good weekend." She left, and she didn't see the way he stood there for 10 minutes after, staring at nothing, jaw tight. The trees along the boulevard turned gold and crimson, then bare. Alara fell into the rhythm of Julian's life, learning his patterns, anticipating needs before he voiced them. She learned he was left-handed, that he tapped his pen 3 times against his desk when he was thinking, that he took calls from his daughter no matter what meeting he was in, that he had a scar on his right hand he never explained. She learned he was kind in ways people didn't notice, quietly ensuring employees could leave early for their kids' school events, personally writing recommendations for interns, remembering birthdays. The cold, ruthless businessman reputation was, she realized, armor underneath. He was just someone who cared too much and had been hurt for it. She also learned she was in trouble. It started small. The way her heart jumped when he said her name. The way she found excuses to stay late, hoping he'd emerge from his office and they'd talk like they had that first Friday. The way she dreamed about his hands, his voice, the ghost of his smile. It was a problem, a significant problem. The first crack in his armor came on a Wednesday in mid-November. Alara was confirming his schedule when her phone rang, an unknown number. She almost didn't answer. "Hello, is this Alara Vance?" A woman's voice, smooth and cold. "Yes, who's calling?" Isabel, I believe you work for my ex-husband. Ilara's stomach dropped. Ma'am, if you'd like to speak with Mr. Sterling, I can transfer you. I'd like to speak with you, actually. How old are you, dear? The condescension dripped like poison. Ilara kept her voice level. I'm not sure how that's relevant, sir. I'm not sure how that's relevant. You sound young. Let me give you some advice. Woman to woman. Julian is very good at making people feel special, particularly young, attractive women. But he's not a good man, no matter what he's told you. He's cold, selfish, and he destroys everything he touches. Just ask his daughter. I think you should speak with Mr. Sterling directly about whatever concerns you have. Oh, I will. I just wanted you to know what you're walking into. When he discards you, and he will, don't say you weren't warned. The line went dead. Ilara sat there, shaking with anger with something else she couldn't name. Julian's door opened. Ilara, did Senator Hayes' office call back about? He stopped seeing her face. What happened? Nothing, she said too quickly. He closed the distance between them in 3 strides. That's not nothing. You're upset. It's personal. I shouldn't. I'm going to stand right here until you decide to talk. His voice was quiet, but there was steel underneath. She hesitated then. Your ex-wife, she called me. Every line of his body went rigid. What did she say? It doesn't matter, Ilara. He crouched beside her chair so they were eye level, and the gentleness in the gesture made her throat tight. What did she say? That you're not a good man? That you'll hurt me? That I should? She stopped. His jaw clenched. I'm sorry. She had no right to contact you. I'll handle it. Is it true? The question escaped before she could stop it. Are you? She fumbled for words. Do you do this a lot? With assistance? He looked like she'd struck him. Of course not. He ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident. I've had 4 executive assistants in 20 years. 1 is now my CFO, 1 retired, 1 moved for her husband's job, and now you. There's no pattern of... He stopped, seeming to realize something. Why would you even? He stood abruptly, putting distance between them. She's trying to get in your head. Don't let her. Why does she hate you so much? The question hung there. Julian walked to the windows, hands in his pockets, shoulders tight. Because I stopped loving her, he said finally, not turning around. Or maybe because I never did. Not the way she wanted. Our marriage was, he paused, searching for words, a merger. 2 powerful families, good optics, mutual benefit. We were friends, or I thought we were. Then Audrey came. Clears throat. And for a while that was enough. But Isabel wanted something I couldn't give her. Passion, romance, the kind of love that consumes people. He turned, met Ilara's eyes. I'm not built for that. She resented it, resented me. By the time we divorced, we were strangers who shared a daughter and a lawyer. Ilara's heart ached. You love Audrey more than anything. Then you're built for love. You just haven't found the right person to give it to. The words escaped before she could call them back. Julian stared at her, something raw and unguarded flickering across his face. The air between them crackled. Ilara, he said, and her name sounded different in his mouth. Rougher. You should go home. It's too late in the afternoon. I know. Go anyway, take the rest of the day. I need... He stopped. Just go. She gathered her things, hurt and confused, and she didn't see the way he gripped the edge of his desk after she left, knuckles white, breathing like he'd run a mile. That night at 11, her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Julian. I'm sorry about today. You didn't deserve that. Also, I don't actually have your number in my personal phone, just your work extension, which feels like an oversight. If you're not comfortable with me having it, I understand. I can forget it. She stared at the message. He'd clearly gotten her number from HR. The fact that he was asking permission after the fact was oddly endearing. She saved his contact, typed back, "It's fine. Are you okay?" 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "No, but that's not your problem to solve." "What if I want it to be?" This time the pause was longer. "You shouldn't." "Good thing I'm bad at doing what I should, Ilara." "Julian, this is a bad idea. What is whatever this is?" Her heart hammered. "I'm not sure what you mean." "Yes, you are." She stared at her phone, pulse racing. He was right. She knew exactly what he meant. The tension that had been building for weeks, the way they orbited each other, careful not to touch, terrified of what would happen if they did. "So what do we do?" she typed. "We don't. We keep this professional. We maintain boundaries. We pretend we don't feel it." The dots appeared and disappeared 3 times. Then, yes, she should have agreed. Should have been relieved. Instead, she felt hollow. Okay. Good night, Julian. Good night." She didn't sleep. She doubted he did either. The next 2 weeks were exquisite torture. They were unfailingly polite, scrupulously professional. He didn't stay late. She didn't linger. They didn't text. But the tension coiled tighter. A spring wound too far, waiting to snap. Then Audrey showed up. It was a Thursday afternoon, and Ilara was alone in the office. Everyone else at an off-site meeting. She was fielding calls when the elevator opened, and a teenage girl stepped out. Tall and lanky with Julian's dark hair and sharp cheekbones, wearing ripped jeans and a leather jacket. "You must be Ilara," the girl said, dropping into a chair across from Ilara's desk. "I'm Audrey. Dad around?" "He's at a meeting downtown back in an hour. Does he know you're coming?" "Nope. Wanted to surprise him." Audrey studied her with unsettling directness. "You're younger than the last one." Audrey grinned. "So, what's the deal with you and Dad?" Ilara's face went hot. "There's no deal. I'm his assistant." "Uh-huh, and I'm the Queen of England. Nice to meet you, peasant." "Audrey, relax. I'm messing with you. But for real, he talks about you like a lot. Ilara organized this. Ilara solved that. Ilara suggested this approach. It's very," she waved her hand, "telling he appreciates competent work." "Sure, that's why he smiles at his phone now. Definitely work-related." Ilara's heart stumbled. "He doesn't." "He does. Look, I'm going to be straight with you because I like your vibe. My dad is," Audrey chose words carefully, "locked down. Has been since the divorce, maybe before. My mom really did a number on him. But lately he's been different, lighter, and the only thing that's changed is you. So, whatever you're doing, keep doing it." "I'm not doing anything." "Okay, miss." Before Ilara could respond, the elevator dinged. Julian stepped out, saw his daughter, and his entire face transformed. The guarded businessman vanished, replaced by something open and warm. "Audrey, sweetheart, what are you doing here?" Audrey launched herself at him. He caught her easily, hugging her tight, and Ilara's chest constricted at the sight. This was Julian. Undefended, unafraid. This was love. "Mom's being psycho about college applications," Audrey said into his shoulder. "Needed a break. Can I stay at yours this weekend?" "Always. You know that." He pulled back, hands on her shoulders. "You okay?" "Better now." Audrey glanced at Ilara, smirked. "Your assistant is pretty. You didn't mention that." Julian's expression shuddered immediately. "Audrey?" "What? She is. I'm just observing." Ilara stood. I'll give you privacy." "Stay," Julian said too quickly, then more measured. "You don't have to leave. Audrey, this is Ilara Vance. Ilara, my daughter who has no filter." "Genetic trait," Audrey said cheerfully, extending a hand. Nice to officially meet you. Ilara shook it charmed despite herself. You too. So, Ilara, Audrey said, settling into a chair, clearly planning to stay. Tell me everything. How do you deal with my dad's control freak tendencies? I make very detailed spreadsheets. Audrey laughed. Julian's mouth twitched. I'm not a control freak. Crossan was Rowan Knight, Kanten Prussen. Both women looked at him. He sighed. I like organization. You clear's throat color code your socks, Audrey said. Efficiency. You plan meals 3 weeks in advance. Practical. Ilara bit back a smile. Seeing them together, the easy affection, the teasing, cracked something open in her chest. This was what he protected so fiercely. This relationship, this love, everything else, the coldness, the control, it was all in service of this. She understood him better now, and it made her fall harder. They ordered pizza, the 3 of them, and spent the evening in Julian's office, Audrey regaling them with stories about her nightmare debate team rival, her girlfriend's disastrous attempt at making vegan lasagna, her mother's increasingly unhinged demands. Julian listened, asked questions, gave advice when prompted, and mostly just made his daughter feel heard. At 9, Audrey yawned. I'm crashing. Your couch, or are we going home? Home, Julian said. I need to finish a few things. 20 minutes, then we'll go. Audrey looked between them, something knowing in her expression. Take your time. I'll wait in the lobby. Nice meeting you, Ilara. Seriously, I approve. Approve of what? Julian asked sharply. Her competent work, Dad. Relax. Audrey winked at Ilara and left. Silence. Julian rubbed his face. I apologize for my daughter. No, I like her. She's wonderful. Of course you'd say that. Honestly, Julian, I love me some father-daughter relationship. It's so cute to see. He looked at Ilara then, and the weight of his attention made her breath catch. What did she say to you before I arrived that you seem happier lately? I am. The admission seemed to surprise him. I don't know why? Liar, Ilara thought. You know exactly why, but she didn't say it. Instead, you should go. She needs you. I know. He didn't move. Ilara. Just go, Julian, she said softly. Don't say whatever you're about to say. Not tonight. He swallowed hard, nodded, grabbed his coat and briefcase, paused at the door. For what it's worth, he said, not looking at her. I'm not good at this. Feeling. He stopped. Good night. He left. Ilara stood in his empty office, surrounded by the faint scent of his cologne, and pressed her hand to her chest where her heart was trying to break through. December arrived with snow and office holiday parties. The firm's annual gala was scheduled for the 15th, a black tie event at the Museum of Art. Natalie mentioned it casually one Monday morning. You're expected to attend, she told Ilara. All senior staff and their assistants, open bar, decent food, forced mingling, wear something nice. Ilara panicked. She didn't own anything gala appropriate. Her nicest dress was a knee-length black number she'd worn to her cousin's wedding. Natalie, sensing distress, took her shopping, insisting she expense half of it as a professional development cost. They found a dress at a boutique in the city. Midnight blue silk that draped like water, elegant and simple, with a back that dipped lower than Ilara usually wore. Natalie whistled. He's going to swallow his tongue. That's not why I'm buying it. Sure, honey. Keep telling yourself that. The night of the gala, Ilara almost called in sick, but cowardice had never been her style, so she put on the blue dress, swept her hair up, applied more makeup than usual, and called a car. The museum was transformed, all soft lighting and winter florals, a string quartet playing near the entrance. Ilara accepted a glass of champagne from a passing waiter and immediately felt out of her depth. Everyone looked expensive, established, comfortable in this world of wealth and influence. She was scanning for a familiar face when she felt it, the prickle of awareness that meant he was nearby. She turned. Julian stood across the room in a tuxedo that fit him like a weapon, talking to a silver-haired man she recognized as the mayor. But he wasn't looking at the mayor. He was looking at her, and the expression on his face made her forget how to breathe. He excused himself, crossed the room with deliberate slowness, and Ilara felt every eye track his movement. When he reached her, he didn't speak immediately, just looked at her like he was memorizing her. "You look," he stopped, jaw tight. "You should know that dress is what?" she asked when he didn't continue. His voice dropped rough and low, meant only for her. "Adorable," heat flooded through her. "It's just a dress." "Yes, an adorable dress." His eyes traced the neckline, the way the silk clung, and when he met her gaze again, there was hunger there, barely leashed. "Dance with me, Julian, please." It wasn't a request, it was surrender. She let him lead her to the floor, where couples were swaying to something slow and classical. His hands settled at the small of her back, right where the fabric stopped, skin against skin, and she felt him inhale sharply. "This dress," he murmured, pulling her closer, "is going to kill me." "That would be inconvenient." His thumb traced small circles on her spine, and she shivered. They moved together closer than was strictly professional, and Ilara gave up, pretending this was anything other than what it was, wanting, longing, the inevitable gravity of two people trying not to fall. "I can't stop thinking about you," Julian said so quietly she almost missed it. "I've tried. God knows I've tried. But every morning I walk into that office and you're there smiling, competent, brilliant, and I—" He stopped, conflict written across his face. "This is inappropriate. I know you work for me. I know you're 24. I'm aware. I'm 46. I can do math." His hand tightened on her waist. "This can't happen." Clears throat. "Okay, I mean it, Ilara. I believe you. Then why are you looking at me like that? Like what?" His eyes dropped to her mouth. "Like you want me to stop being noble?" Her breath hitched. "Maybe I do." He made a sound low in his throat, pained and wanting. "You don't know what you're asking. Then tell me." They'd stopped moving, standing still while other couples swirled around them, lost in each other. "If I start this," Julian said, voice barely controlled, "if I let myself have you, I won't be able to stop. I won't be gentle or easy or any of the things you deserve. I'll want everything, and I'll ruin you for anyone else because I'm selfish enough, desperate enough to make you mine in every way I know how." Ilara felt the words in her bones, molten and dangerous. "What if I want to be ruined?" He closed his eyes like she'd hurt him. "Don't say things like that." "Why not?" "Because my control is hanging by a thread, and you're—" He opened his eyes, and the raw need there stole her breath. "You're pulling it apart." "Nice. Julian, take me home." He went rigid. "You don't mean that." "I do. Take me home. Yours or mine, I don't care." For a long moment, he just stared at her, warring with himself. Then, voice rough as gravel. "Get your coat." Her heart slammed against her ribs. "What?" "Get your coat," he repeated, already stepping back, hand falling away from her waist like it burned. "I'm taking you home to your apartment alone because if I don't leave right now, I'm going to do something we'll both regret in a room full of people." Disappointment and relief weared in her chest. "Julian, please," he said, and the desperation in it stopped her. "Please let me do the right thing while I still can." She wanted to argue, wanted to push, but the look on his face, torn and aching, made her relent. Okay. They collected their coats in silence. He insisted on driving her himself despite her protests, and the car ride was thick with tension. She watched the city lights blur past, hyper-aware of him beside her. The way his hands gripped the steering wheel, the muscle jumping in his jaw. When they pulled up to her building, he put the car in park, but didn't turn it off. I'll wait until you're inside. Ilara unbuckled her seatbelt, turned to face him. Are we going to talk about what just happened? No, Julian, if I talk about it, if I think about it. He stopped, eyes straight ahead. I'll change my mind. I'll follow you upstairs, and we both know how that ends. Would that be so terrible? He finally looked at her, and the longing in his face was almost painful. Yes, because you deserve someone who can offer you a future, not a man with an ex-wife who will destroy you for sport and a life so complicated you'll drown in it. You deserve simple, easy, uncomplicated. What if I don't want simple? His hand reached out, seemingly without his permission, and cupped her face with devastating gentleness. What if I can't give you anything else? What? She leaned into his touch. You're already giving me more than you know. He stroked her cheekbone with his thumb, studying her like she was something precious and fragile. He admitted quietly, I haven't been scared in 20 years, but you terrify me. Why? Because you make me want things I gave up on, and I don't know if I'm strong enough to survive losing you when you realize what a mistake this is. It's not a mistake. You can't know that. Neither can you. They sat there, his hand on her face, her hand covering his, the engine running, both of them afraid to move. I should go, Ilara whispered, not moving. Yes, Julian agreed, not pulling away. Neither of them moved for another 30 seconds. Then, with visible effort, he dropped his hand. Good night, Ilara. She grabbed her clutch, opened the door, paused. For the record, I think you're wrong about all of it. She walked to her building, felt his eyes on her the whole way. When she reached the door, she looked back. He was still there, watching, hands gripping the steering wheel like it was the only thing keeping him in place. She went inside. He didn't drive away for another 5 minutes. The week before Christmas, Natalie dropped a folder on Ilara's desk. Chicago Conference 20th through the 22nd. Julian's giving the keynote meeting with investors. I usually go, but my daughter's flying in from Seattle. Can you handle it? Ilara's pulse jumped. Of course. Separate hotel rooms, same floor. Don't let him skip meals or sleep less than 4 hours. He gets intense at these things. Understood. Natalie paused, gave her a long look. Be careful of what? You know what? The 20th arrived cold and clear. They took a private car to the airport, a chartered flight to O'Hare, another car to the Peninsula Hotel. Ilara had been on business trips before, but never like this, never staying somewhere so expensive the lobby made her want to whisper. Their rooms were across the hall from each other, suites with lake views and marble bathrooms. Julian knocked on her door an hour after check-in. Dinner with the board at 7, he said, leaning in her doorway, tie already loosened. Business casual? And Ilara? Yes. His eyes traced her face. Try not to look as beautiful as you did at the gala. I need to actually focus tomorrow. He left before she could respond, and she stood there, heart racing, wondering how she'd survive 2 days of this. Dinner was at some restaurant with a Michelin star and portions the size of Ilara's palm. She sat beside Julian, acutely aware of every accidental brush of their arms, every time his hand came close to hers on the table. He was in his element here, commanding and brilliant, and watching him work was intoxicating. Afterward, walking back to the hotel through Chicago's glittering December streets, he asked, Want to walk a bit? I'm not tired yet. They wandered down Michigan Avenue, past decorated windows and late-night shoppers, and it felt dangerously like a date. Julian pointed out buildings he admired, told her stories about deals made and lost in this city, and Alara memorized the sound of his voice, the way his breath clouded in the cold. They stopped in front of a massive Christmas tree in Millennium Park, lights reflecting off the bean, and Julian turned to her. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Why me?" She blinked. "What?" "You could work anywhere, for anyone. Why stay at Sterling Global? Why stay?" He paused. "Near me when you know this?" He gestured between them. "Whatever this is complicated at best and disastrous at worst." Alara considered lying, playing it safe. But they were in Chicago, away from the office and the rules, and she was tired of pretending. "You're a good businessman. Who wouldn't want to work for your company?" He stared at her, something breaking open in his expression. "Alara." "Yes," she answered. He stepped closer, and she could see her reflection in his eyes. "Can I be honest with you about something? I'm listening. I'm in love with you." The words fell like stones, heavy and irrevocable. "I've been fighting it for months, telling myself it's inappropriate, impossible, a dozen other excuses. But the truth is, I'm completely, terrifyingly in love with you, and I don't have the first idea what to do about it." The world narrowed to his face, his words still echoing. "Julian, you don't have to say anything. I just needed you to know before I lose my nerve. Before I talk myself out of—" She kissed him, rose on her toes, grabbed his coat, and kissed him with everything she'd been holding back for months. He froze for half a second, shocked, then made a sound somewhere between a groan and surrender, and kissed her back. His hands came up to frame her face, angling her how he wanted, and he kissed her like a man starving, like she was oxygen and he'd been drowning. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he pressed his forehead to hers. "We shouldn't," he started. "If you say we shouldn't do this, I'm going to scream." A breathless laugh escaped him. "I was going to say we shouldn't be doing this in public where anyone could see." "Oh." His thumb traced her lower lip, eyes dark. "My room or yours?" Her stomach flipped. "Yours is probably nicer." "I don't care about nice. I care about you in a bed, letting me show you exactly how long I've wanted this." Heat pulled low in her belly. "Then yours." Now they walked back to the hotel, moving too fast to be casual. Took the elevator in charged silence. And the second his door closed behind them, he had her pressed against it, mouth on hers, hands in her hair. He kissed her slower, thorough, and claiming. His hands slid down her sides, learning her shape, and when she arched into him, he groaned. "You have no idea how many times I've imagined this," he said roughly, kissing down her neck. "How many nights I've laid awake thinking about touching you, tasting you, making you say my name." She shivered. "Show me." He walked her backward to the bed, never breaking contact, and laid her down with a gentleness that contradicted the hunger in his eyes. He shrugged off his jacket, loosened his tie, and Alara watched, mesmerized. "You're staring," he said, mouth quirking. "You're worth staring at." He climbed over her, caging her in, and the weight of him, the heat, made her dizzy. "I need you to understand something," he said, voice low and serious. "This isn't casual for me. This isn't just physical. If we do this, you're mine completely, and I don't share." Possessiveness should have annoyed her. Instead, it sent a thrill down her spine. He kissed her hard, demanding, hands mapping her body like he was memorizing it. When he slipped the straps of her dress down, exposing her, he stopped, just looking. "Perfect," he murmured. "You're perfect." He kissed his way down her body, worshipful and thorough, and when he settled between her thighs, she gasped. "Julian, say my name like that again," he commanded, voice rough. "I want to hear it while I make you fall apart." He did twice before she pulled him up, desperate to feel all of him. He shed the rest of his clothes, and she took a moment to appreciate the lean strength of him before he settled over her again. "Last chance," he said, even as his body betrayed how much he wanted this. "We can stop. If you stop now, I'll never forgive you." He smiled, genuine and bright, and it transformed his face. "Then hold on to me." He entered her slowly, giving her time to adjust, and the intimacy of it. The way he watched her face, murmuring praise and promises, made her chest ache. When he was fully inside, he stilled. "Okay," he asked, and she loved him for checking. More than okay, he started to move, setting a rhythm that built slowly, perfectly, and Alara wrapped herself around him, holding on like he'd asked. The tension coiled tighter, and when she shattered his name a prayer on her lips, he followed moments later, face buried in her neck, her name breaking from him like a confession. After tangled together, he traced idle patterns on her shoulder. "I meant what I said earlier," he murmured. "I love you." Alara turned to face him, saw the vulnerability there. "I love you too. I have for a while now." He kissed her forehead, soft and reverent. "What are we going to do?" "Figure it out together. It's going to be complicated." "I know. Isabel will make our lives hell. Let her try." He smiled against her hair. "You're fearless. Only when it comes to you." They fell asleep like that, wrapped around each other, and for the first time in years, Julian slept through the night without waking, without nightmares, held by someone who loved him despite everything. The morning after should have been perfect. Alara woke wrapped in Egyptian cotton sheets that probably cost more than her rent. Julian's arm heavy across her waist, winter sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. She turned in his arms, found him already awake, watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. "Hi," she whispered, suddenly shy. He brushed hair from her face, thumb tracing her cheekbone. "Hi, any regrets?" Something flickered in his eyes there and gone. "No, you not even one." He kissed her slow and thorough, and she felt him hardening against her hip. "We have 2 hours before the keynote," he murmured against her mouth. "I can think of several ways to spend them." She could too, but his phone buzzed on the nightstand, shattering the moment. He glanced at it, jaw tightening. "It's my lawyer. I should take it," she said, sliding out of bed, wrapping herself in the complimentary robe. "I'll order breakfast." She left him to his call, tried not to listen through the door as his voice shifted into the clipped, controlled tone he used for business. 20 minutes later, he emerged fully dressed, expression carved from the stone. "Everything okay?" she asked. "Fine. We should get ready." "Long day ahead?" The warmth from earlier had vanished. He was polite through breakfast, professional during the keynote, attentive but distant at the investor meetings. By the time they boarded the flight home that evening, Alara's stomach was twisted in knots. "Julian, did I do something wrong?" He didn't look up from his laptop. "Of course not. Why would you think that?" "Because you've barely looked at me since this morning." "I'm working." "Look at me," she demanded. Now he did look at her, expression unreadable. "We'll talk when we're back in the city, not here." The flight felt endless. The car ride from the airport worse. When they pulled up to her apartment building, she expected him to say something. Anything. Instead, "Get some rest. See you Monday." She stared at him, hurt, blooming. "That's it, Alara. No, seriously, that's it. We spend the night together. You tell me you love me, and now you're dropping me off like I'm a colleague you gave a ride to. His hands tightened on the steering wheel. I'm trying to do the right thing. Which is what, exactly? Give us both space to think clearly. Without, he stopped. Without what? Without me touching you and forgetting all the very good reasons this is complicated. She softened slightly. What if I don't want space? That's why I'm insisting on it. He finally looked at her, and the conflict in his face was painful to see. Please, just give me the weekend. I need to think. She grabbed her bag, pride stinging. Fine. Think all you want. She didn't wait for a response, just went inside, snorts, and she didn't cry until she heard his car pull away. Monday morning arrived cold and gray. Ilara got to the office at 7:15, steeling herself. Julian arrived at 8 exactly, nodded at her in passing, and disappeared into his office. No smile, no warmth, nothing. By Tuesday, she was ready to scream. He was unfailingly polite, utterly professional, and completely unreachable. No lingering glances, no private moments. Every interaction was brief, transactional, bloodless. It was like Chicago never happened. Wednesday, she tried to catch him between meetings. He claimed he had a call. Thursday, she brought him coffee the way he liked it. He thanked her without looking up. Friday evening, after everyone else had left, she'd had enough. She walked into his office without knocking, closed the door behind her. We're going to talk about what happened. Julian didn't look away from his computer screen. There's nothing to talk about. Like hell, there isn't. Ilara, no, you don't get to shut me out. Not after everything. He finally met her eyes, and his expression was so carefully blank, it hurt. It was a mistake. We got caught up in the moment. It won't happen again. The words hit like a slap. A mistake? Yes, I'm your employer. You're 24. It was inappropriate, and I apologize. Anger flooded through her, hot and sharp. Don't you dare reduce what happened to inappropriate. You felt it too. I know you did. He stood, and she saw tension in every line of his body. What I feel is irrelevant. This puts you at risk. It puts my daughter at risk. It puts everything I've built at risk. So that's it. You just shut it off. His jaw clenched. Yes. God, you really are as cold as everyone says. She saw him flinch, barely perceptible, but it was there. Good. She wanted him to hurt like she was hurting. She turned to leave, hand on the door. For the record, she said without looking back, you're a coward. Unne. She left. Didn't slam the door, but closed it with careful control, which somehow felt more damning. She grabbed her coat and bag, made it to the elevator before the tears came. Julian stood alone in his office, breathing hard, hands braced on his desk. He wanted to go after her, wanted to pull her back, kiss her until she understood he was doing this for her, to protect her. But he stayed frozen because this was right. This was necessary. His phone rang. Isabel. Of course, he answered, voice flat. What do you want, Julian? Darling. Her voice was sugar over poison. We need to talk about the custody arrangement. I've been hearing concerning things about your judgment lately. His blood went cold. What are you talking about? Just rumors, but you know how people talk. A man your age, a pretty young employee, questions about appropriateness. It would be such a shame if those rumors affected our daughter. The threat was crystal clear. Stay away from my staff, Isabel. Huh. I'm just looking out for Audrey's best interests, as any good mother would. Think about it, darling. Think very carefully about your choices. She hung up. Julian stared at his phone, then with a roar of frustration, swept everything off his desk. Papers scattered, his coffee mug shattered, and still the rage didn't subside. He'd done the right thing, pushing Ilara away. So why did it feel like he just destroyed the best thing in his life? That night, alone in his penthouse, Julian poured 3 fingers of bourbon he didn't drink. He stood at the windows overlooking the city, ice melting in the glass, and tried to convince himself this was for the best. He was protecting her from the nightmare of his life, the vindictive ex-wife, the public scrutiny, the inevitable heartbreak when she realized he was too damaged to give her what she deserved. But every fiber of his being screamed to go to her, to apologize, to admit he was terrified because he'd fallen in love with her, and he didn't know how to do that without destroying everything. He looked at the bourbon, clear his throat, set it down untouched, picked up his phone, put it down, picked it up again. At 1:45 in the morning, he gave up fighting. He grabbed his coat and keys and drove through rain that had started falling like the sky was grieving with him. Ilara's apartment was dark when he arrived. He sat in his car for 10 minutes, arguing with himself before finally getting out. He was soaked by the time he reached her door. He knocked before he could change his mind. She opened it in an oversized t-shirt and sleep shorts, eyes red-rimmed, shocked. Julian, what? It wasn't a mistake. The words came out raw, desperate. She stared at him. Then why? Because I'm terrified. Because my ex-wife will use you against me. Because you deserve someone who isn't this broken. Because I'm falling for you. And I don't know how to do that without ruining your life. Her expression crumpled. She stepped aside. Come inside. You're soaking wet. He followed her in, dripping on her hardwood floor, feeling like an idiot and unable to care. She grabbed a towel, handed it to him. He took it, but didn't use it. Just stood there, staring at her. I tried to stay away, he said quietly. I lasted 3 days. That's how weak you make me. You're not weak. I am when it comes to you, completely powerless. He ran the towel through his hair absently. Isabel called me. Right after you left, she knows something happened between us. I don't know how, and she's threatening to use it in a custody battle. She'll drag you through the mud, call you every terrible name, make your life hell. And his voice broke. I can't watch that happen. I can't be the reason you get destroyed. Ilara crossed to him, took the towel from his hands, set it aside. That's my choice to make, not yours. You don't understand what she's capable of. Then tell me, stop trying to protect me and just talk to me. So he did. They sat on her worn couch, him still damp from the rain, her tucked against his side, and he told her everything about his marriage to Isabel, how it had been cold and transactional from the start, an arrangement between families more than a love match, how Isabel resented him for having primary custody, for being the parent Audrey preferred, for moving on with his life while she stayed bitter, how his daughter was the only purely good thing he'd ever made, and he'd burn the world down before he let anyone take her from him. I've spent 20 years building walls, he said, voice rough with exhaustion, keeping people at a distance, being exactly what everyone expects, controlled, strategic, unfilling, and then you walked in and you just... He stopped, searching for words. What? You walked through every wall like they were made of paper. You made me laugh, made me want to be better, made me feel things I'd convinced myself I was incapable of feeling. He turned to look at her. You made me human again, and it scares the hell out of me. Ilara took his hand, laced their fingers together. I'm scared too, but I'd rather be scared with you than safe without you. You say that now. But when the scandal hits, when your name is dragged through the press, when people call you a gold digger, and worse, let them. I know the truth. You know the truth. That's all that matters. He pulled her closer, buried his face in her hair, breathing her in. I don't know how to be what you need. Maybe I just need you to stop running. They stayed like that, tangled together on her couch, and at some point exhaustion claimed them both. Julian woke hours later, disoriented, to find early morning light filtering through her windows and Alara asleep against his chest, her hand fisted in his shirt like she was afraid he'd disappear. He pressed a kiss to her forehead, careful not to wake her, and let himself have this moment. This peace, this feeling of home he hadn't known in decades. When she stirred awake, she smiled at him, sleepy and soft. "You stayed." "I stayed." She stretched cat-like, and the movement made her shirt ride up, exposing skin. Julian's hands found her waist, seemingly of their own accord. "I should go," he murmured, even as he pulled her onto his lap. "Let you get ready for—" He paused, remembering it's Saturday. "It is." Her fingers threaded through his hair. "No work, no obligations, just us." His hands slid up her back, learning the curve of her spine. "Alara, I'm trying to be good." "I don't want good." She kissed him slow and deliberate. "I want real." He groaned against her mouth. "You're making this very difficult." "That's the idea." She rolled her hips, felt him harden beneath her, smiled at his sharp intake of breath. "Still want to leave?" He flipped them in one smooth motion, pinning her beneath him on the couch. "You're playing with fire? Then burn me." His control shattered. He kissed her like he was drowning and she was air, hands mapping her body with desperate thoroughness. When he slipped his hand beneath her shirt, found bare skin, she arched into him. He breathed against her neck. "Don't you think we should slow down?" "No. Julian, I want you. I want this. Stop trying to protect me from my own choices." He pulled back enough to look at her, and the love in his eyes made her chest ache. "If I start, I'm not stopping. Not for hours, maybe days. Promise?" He made love to her right there on her couch, then carried her to her bed and did it again slower, learning what made her gasp his name, what made her tremble. And when she whispered, "I love you," against his mouth, he stilled completely. "Say it again," he commanded, voice rough. "I love you." "You're going to destroy me," she smiled, pulling him deeper. "You destroyed me first." For 2 weeks, they were careful. No public displays. Late nights at her apartment or his penthouse, stolen mornings before work. It was fragile and perfect, and both of them knew it couldn't last, but pretended otherwise. Alara learned that Julian was surprisingly playful in private, that he had a wicked sense of humor he never showed at work, that he liked to cook, and was terrible at it. He learned that she sang off-key in the shower, that she had a sweet tooth she tried to hide, that she was fiercely competitive at board games and a sore loser. They talked about everything and nothing. He told her about building his company from scratch, the failures that taught him more than successes. She told him about growing up without a father, about the anger she still carried, the abandonment she'd never fully processed. "He left when I was 12, she said one night, curled against Julian's chest in his bed. "Just got in his car one day and drove away. We got a postcard 3 months later from California. That was it." Julian's arms tightened around her. "I'm sorry. I used to think it was my fault, that I wasn't enough to make him stay." "Alara, look at me." He cupped her face, made her meet his eyes. "You are more than enough. You're everything, and your father was a fool who didn't deserve you." She kissed him for that, and he made love to her with such tenderness she cried, and he kissed away every tear. But on a Wednesday morning in early January, their fragile bubbles shattered. Alara was getting coffee in the break room when she overheard 2 junior associates talking. "Did you see the Journal this morning?" "Oh my God, yes, I can't believe. I mean, she seems nice, but 22 years older. That's just—" Alara's blood went cold. She walked calmly back to her desk, opened her laptop, navigated to the city's business journal website. The headline hit like a punch. Billionaire Julian Sterling's inappropriate office affair. Below it, photos of her and Julian outside her apartment building kissing, his hand in her hair. Her legs wrapped around him against the doorframe. Another of them at his penthouse, visible through the windows, bodies intertwined. The article was vicious. It questioned the power dynamic, called her a gold digger, trading sexual favors for career advancement, implied Julian was having a midlife crisis. It quoted anonymous sources expressing concern about his judgment, his fitness as a parent, his leadership of the company. Ilara's phone exploded. Text messages, emails, social media notifications flooding in so fast, her phone froze. She opened Twitter, immediately wished she hadn't. The comments were brutal. She was called every degrading name imaginable. People who didn't know her, had never met her, had opinions about her morals, her intelligence, her worth. Someone had found her college photos, posted them with lewd commentary. Another account had started a thread documenting every outfit she'd worn to work, analyzing whether she was dressing to seduce her boss. She was going to be sick. Julian appeared in the doorway of his office, face ashen. "Ilara, my office now," she followed numbly. He closed the door. "Blinds." "I'm handling this," he said immediately. "My lawyers are already working on." "How did they get those photos?" He hesitated. "I don't know. I'm having it investigated." "This was Isabel, wasn't it?" He didn't deny it. "Probably. But we don't have proof." Ilara laughed, a hollow sound. "Of course we don't. She's too smart for that." She wrapped her arms around herself. "Have you seen what people are saying about me?" "Don't read it. Don't look at any of it." "How can I not? My name is everywhere. My face is—" Her voice cracked. "I can't even walk to my car without someone taking photos." Julian crossed to her, tried to pull her close. She stepped back. "Don't, not here. That's what started this." Pain flashed across his face. "We'll get through this, will we? Because your lawyers are probably advising you to distance yourself, to make a statement, ending the relationship, protecting the business." His silence was answer enough. "Oh my God." She stared at him. "You're actually considering it." "I'm considering what's best for everyone involved." "You mean what's best for you, for your company? For your custody case? No. That's not fair, isn't it?" Anger was easier than hurt. "What's the plan, Julian? I take a leave of absence. Disappear until this blows over. Let you pretend I don't exist." "Just until the custody hearing is over. Just until I'm not an inconvenience anymore." "You're not an inconvenience. You're what? An embarrassment? A liability?" "You're the woman I love." His voice rose, frustration breaking through. "And I'm trying to protect you from the worst of this." "By hiding me? By acting like I'm the problem? By keeping you out of the line of fire? Isabel will use this. She'll go for full custody. She'll destroy everything. So, let her try, fight back. Show everyone that what we have is real and worth defending. I am fighting back by being strategic, by not handing her ammunition." Ilara looked at him and saw the fear there, not of losing the custody battle, of losing control, of being vulnerable in a way he'd spent decades avoiding. "You're a coward," she said quietly. He flinched like she'd struck him. "Maybe I am, but I'm a coward who's trying to keep his daughter. You can have both, Julian, Audrey and me. You can have both if you're brave enough to try. What if I'm not?" The question hung between them, raw and honest. Ilara felt something inside her break. "Then I guess we're done here." She walked out of his office, sat at her desk, and with shaking hands typed an email. Resignation, effective, clears throat, immediately. Professional, cold, every word a small death. She attached it to an email address to Julian and Natalie, her finger hovering over send for 30 seconds before pressing it. Done. She packed her desk in under 10 minutes. Personal photos, the plant she'd brought to make the space homier, the good pens she'd bought herself. Natalie appeared stricken. "Elara, wait, you don't have to." "I do, but thank you for everything." She left the building for the last time, made it to her car, and let the tears flow. She cried the entire drive home, then cried in her apartment until she had nothing left. Julian read her resignation 17 times. Each word was a knife, clean and precise, effective immediately. Best of luck with everything. He opened his desk drawer, pulled out a small velvet box he'd been carrying for a week. Inside a ring, simple platinum band with a single diamond, elegant and perfect, and utterly Elara. He'd bought it the day after Chicago had been terrified to give it to her, waiting for the right moment. He closed the box, put it back in the drawer, poured himself a drink he didn't finish. His phone buzzed. "Audrey, you're an idiot, Dad." He closed his eyes. "I know. She quit. I saw it online. People are celebrating like they won something. Aren't you going to fight for her?" "It's more complicated than that. It's really not. You love her. She loves you. Mom is being psychotic, as usual. The solution is telling Mom to shove it and keeping the girl. But you're too scared, so you're doing the stupid thing instead." "Audrey, I'm embarrassed for you. Honestly, I thought you were braver than this." She hung up. Julian stared at his phone, his daughter's words echoing. He'd raised a woman who didn't back down from fights, who stood up for what she believed in. When had he stopped doing the same? 2 weeks dragged by like years. Elara moved in with her friend Maya, took a job at a small non-profit working with underserved communities. The pay was terrible. The office was cramped, but no one there cared about her personal life. She was just Elara, not the woman from the photos, the scandal, the headlines. She told herself she was fine, told Maya she was moving on. But at night alone, she ached for him, for his voice, his hands, the way he made her feel seen and valued and loved. Maya dragged her to a charity gala on a Saturday night, insisting she needed to get out, be around people. Elara agreed only because Maya wouldn't stop pestering, and because the non-profit she worked for was catering the event. She'd be invisible in her black server's uniform, pouring wine and clearing plates. The gala was at the Museum of Art, the same venue where she'd worn the blue dress and danced with Julian, and felt her entire world shift. She tried not to think about it as she carried a tray of champagne through the crowd. Then she saw him. Julian? Clear's throat, stood across the room in a tuxedo surrounded by people looking absolutely miserable. His face was drawn, shadows under his eyes, and he looked like he'd lost weight. He looked like she felt their eyes met. The room fell away. Everything, the music, the chatter, the people vanished until it was just him looking at her like she was water, and he was dying of thirst. He started moving toward her. Elara panicked, turned, and fled down a back hallway. She heard footsteps behind her. "Elara, wait!" She spun around. Don't do this!" He stopped a few feet away, hands raised like she was a frightened animal. "I need to talk to you." "You had 2 weeks to talk. You chose silence." "I was wrong. I've been wrong about everything." She laughed bitterly. "Do you have any idea what these weeks have been like? Being called a names online, losing my job, watching you pretend I didn't exist while the entire city tore me apart?" Pain flooded his face. "I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry isn't enough." He stepped closer, desperate now. "Then tell me what is. Tell me how to fix this." You can't. You made your choice. My choice was you. It's always been you. I was just too terrified to see it. Another step. I love you. I'm in love with you. And I don't know how to do this, how to be what you need, but I'm willing to learn. I'll do anything. Just please don't give up on me. His voice broke on the last word. Elara felt her resolve cracking, felt all the anger and hurt warring with the love that had never actually faded. You broke me, she whispered. I know, and I'll spend the rest of my life putting you back together if you let me. She closed the distance, grabbed his lapels, and kissed him, angry and desperate and forgiving all at once, pouring 2 weeks of agony into it. He kissed back like he was starving, hands framing her face, a sound escaping him that was half groan, half relief when they broke apart. Both breathing hard, her cheeks were wet. If you hurt me again, she started. I won't. I swear. He pressed his forehead to hers. I promise I'll try every single day not to. I promise I'll fight for you instead of pushing you away. I promise that you're the most important thing in my world, and I was a fool to forget it. She pulled back enough to see his face. What about Isabel? The custody hearing. Let her come. I'm done being afraid of her. I'm done choosing safety over happiness. His thumb traced her cheekbone. I'm choosing you, always you. The board can accept it or find a new CEO. I don't care anymore, Julian. I haven't touched another woman since you, he said roughly, backing her against the wall. Haven't wanted to. You ruined me for anyone else. Let's leave here, she said. She informed Maya and then left with him. They barely made it to his car. He kissed her against the passenger door, hand sliding up her thigh under her skirt, restraint gone. I've missed you. He breathed against her mouth. Every minute, every second, the drive to his penthouse was a blur. They stumbled through his door, shedding clothes, and he made love to her against the wall, on the couch, in his bed, like he was trying to make up for 2 weeks in a single night. And when she shattered in his arms for the 3rd time, his name a sob on her lips, he held her like she was precious. Never again, he murmured into her hair. I'm never letting you go again. You better mean that. I do so much that... He reached for his jacket, discarded on the floor, pulled out the small velvet box. Her breath caught. Julian, I'm not asking yet, he said quickly. I just want you to know. I bought this the day after Chicago. I've been carrying it ever since. Too scared to give it to her. And then I was too stupid, and I want you to see it, to know I was serious, that I am serious. He opened the box. The ring caught the light. Simple and perfect. Elara's eyes filled with tears. It's beautiful. It's yours when you're ready. No pressure, no expectations. Just whenever you're ready. She kissed him soft and slow. Ask me tomorrow. He smiled against her mouth. Yeah. Clear's throat. They fell asleep tangled together, and neither noticed the car idling across the street, or the man inside photographing them through the penthouse windows, or the email being sent to Isabel Sterling with the subject line, "More ammunition." 1 week later, Julian sat in a conference room at the county courthouse, flanked by his lawyers, while Isabel's legal team systematically tried to destroy him. Mr. Sterling, is it true that you engaged in a sexual relationship with an employee more than 20 years your junior? Julian's lawyer objected. The judge overruled. Julian met his ex-wife's attorney's eyes steadily. Yes. And is it true that this relationship caused a public scandal that reflected poorly on your company and by extension your judgment? The relationship didn't cause the scandal. The invasion of our privacy did. But you acknowledge the relationship was inappropriate given the power dynamic. No. I acknowledge that 2 consenting adults fell in love. There was no coercion, No abuse of power. Ilara Vance is brilliant and capable, and she chose to be with me of her own free will." Isabel's lawyer smiled like a shark. Yet, she resigned shortly after the affair became public. Doesn't that suggest she felt pressured? It suggests I was an idiot who pushed away the best thing in my life because I was afraid. But I'm not afraid anymore. B-less. The lawyer moved on, bringing up his work hours, his travel schedule, painting a picture of an absent father. Julian's lawyer countered with testimony from Audrey's teachers, her friends' parents, all describing Julian as devoted and present. Then they called Audrey to the stand. She walked in wearing a navy dress Julian had never seen, hair pulled back, looking older than her 16 years. She was sworn in, sat down, and met her mother's eyes with zero warmth. "Audrey," Isabel's lawyer began gently, "do you feel safe with your father, given his recent behavior?" Audrey looked at the judge. "Can I just say what I want to say instead of answering loaded questions?" The judge's mouth twitched. "Go ahead, Miss Sterling." "Okay, so my dad isn't perfect. He works too much sometimes. He's weird about organization, and he can't cook worth a damn, but he's there. Every school event, every debate tournament, every 3 a.m. panic attack about college applications. He listens. He cares. And yeah, he fell in love with someone younger. So what? Ilara makes him happy. She makes him laugh. I've never seen him like this before. And it's good." She turned to face Isabel directly. "Mom wants custody because she's mad. Dad moved on. Not because she actually wants me. She barely even calls. When I visit her, she's on her phone the whole time or out with friends. Dad's the one who knows my favorite foods, my friends' names, that I'm allergic to penicillin. Dad's the one who showed up when I came out, who met my girlfriend and made her feel welcome, even though I could tell he was internally freaking out." The courtroom was silent. Julian's eyes were wet. "If you give her custody," Audrey finished, looking at the judge, "I'll run away. I'm not kidding. I'll disappear, and Dad will lose his mind looking for me. So, please don't do that to either of us." She was excused. As she walked past Julian, she squeezed his shoulder. He caught her hand, held it for a moment, overwhelmed. Ilara sat in the gallery watching, and she couldn't take it anymore. She stood. "Your Honor, may I speak?" The judge looked surprised but nodded. "Approach." Ilara walked to the front, aware of every eye on her. She looked at Isabel, at Julian, at the judge. "My name is Ilara Vance. I'm the woman in the photos. And, yes, I'm younger than Mr. Sterling. Yes, we work together. But I need you to know he didn't pursue me. I pursued him. He fought it. He tried to protect me from exactly this, from being dragged through the mud and judged by people who don't know me." She turned fully toward Isabel. "You're not doing this for Audrey. You're doing this because you can't stand that he's happy, that he found someone who sees him as more than a bank account or a trophy husband. You want to punish him for moving on, and you're willing to hurt your daughter to do it." Back to the judge. "Julian Sterling is the most honorable man I've ever met. He's patient and kind, and he loves his daughter more than anything in this world. If you take Audrey from him, you're punishing a good father for having the courage to fall in love. And that's not justice, that's cruelty." She walked back to her seat in silence. Julian stared at her, eyes bright, mouthing, "Thank you." The judge called a recess. 27 minutes later, she returned. "I've reviewed all the evidence and testimony," she began, "and I find no compelling reason to alter the current custody arrangement. Joint custody remains in effect. Primary residence with Mr. Sterling. This court finds no evidence of unfitness or behavior that would endanger the minor child. We're adjourned." The gavel came down. Isabel looked murderous. Julian exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for hours. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Julian ignored them, scanning the crowd until he found Ilara. He crossed to her, pulled her aside. "You didn't have to do that." Yes, I did. He cupped her face, oblivious to the cameras. I love you. He kissed her slow and deep, and in front of everyone, reporters, lawyers, Isabel. Let them see. Let them know. When he pulled back, he kept her close. Remember yesterday when you said I should ask you tomorrow? Her heart stuttered. Julian, it's tomorrow. He pulled the ring box from his jacket pocket. But I'm doing it right this time. He dropped to one knee on the courthouse steps. Ilara's hands flew to her mouth. Ilara Vance, you walked into my life when I'd given up on feeling anything real. You're brave and brilliant, and you make me want to be better. I don't deserve you, but I'm selfish enough to ask anyway. Will you marry me? She was crying, nodding. Yes. He slid the ring onto her finger with shaking hands, stood and kissed her while cameras flashed and people applauded. Audrey appeared beside them, filming on her phone. This is going to make Mom lose her mind, she said cheerfully. Julian laughed into Ilara's hair. I know, don't care. Welcome to the family, Ilara. Sorry you're stuck with us. Ilara pulled her into the embrace. Best decision I ever made. 6 months later, Ilara woke in a house that still didn't quite feel real. The estate was sprawling, far too big for 2 people, with gardens she was slowly filling with roses and lavender, a library Julian had designed specifically for her, and a kitchen with windows overlooking the lawn where she had her coffee every morning. This morning she found Julian already in the garden, barefoot in jeans and a t-shirt, hair still messy from sleep. He was assembling something, muttering under his breath. What are you doing? She called from the doorway. He looked up, smiled that rare, genuine smile she loved. Building a doghouse. We don't have a dog. We will in about 3 hours. He walked over, handed her a folder. Inside adoption papers from the Humane Society for a rescue golden retriever named Biscuit. Ilara's eyes filled. You hate dogs. I don't hate your dog. She kissed him, tasting coffee and morning and home. You're getting soft in your old age. Only for you. He pulled her close, hands settling at her waist. How'd you sleep? Better once you came back to bed. Where'd you go at 5 a.m.? Couldn't sleep. Too excited about the merger talks this week. She was COO of Sterling Global now, a position she'd earned over 6 months of proving herself to the board, to the staff, to everyone who doubted her. The merger talks were her project, her strategy, and Julian had stepped back to let her lead. Nervous? He asked, reading her expression. Terrified. Clears throat. You're going to be brilliant. You always are. They spent the morning prepping side by side in the study that was now theirs, debating tactics and reviewing numbers. At noon, Audrey arrived with her girlfriend, Tessa. Both of them loaded down with Thai food takeout. We're invading for the weekend, Audrey announced. Tessa's parents are being weird about the whole thing, so we're hiding here. Julian hugged Tessa. You're always welcome, both of you. They ate lunch in the garden, the 4 of them, plus Biscuit, who arrived mid-meal and immediately claimed Audrey as his favorite. Julian watched his daughter laugh, watched Ilara tease her about spoiling the dog, watched this family they'd built from broken pieces, and felt something settle in his chest. That evening, after Audrey and Tessa had claimed the guest room and Biscuit had been walked and fed, Julian found Ilara in their study, still working. Come to bed, he said from the doorway. 10 more minutes. He crossed to her, spun her chair around, and pulled her onto his lap. Now she laughed, looping her arms around his neck, demanding, You love it, I love you. He kissed her slow and thorough, hands slipping under her shirt. Bed now. I have plans for you. What kind of plans? His eyes darkened. The kind that involve me reminding you exactly who you belong to. Heat pulled low in her belly. I belong to myself. Thank you. Fine. Then let me remind you who you've chosen to spend your life with. Better. I'll tell you after you're done reminding me. He stood, lifting her with him, and carried her toward the stairs. Halfway up, she whispered, "We have guests who are 17 and deeply uninterested in what we're doing. Still, Ilara." He sat her down in their bedroom, closed and locked the door. "I've been thinking about this all day. Thinking about you, so unless you're actually saying no, I'm not saying no." He smiled, predatory and loving all at once. "Good." He undressed her slowly, kissing every inch of exposed skin, murmuring praise and promises against her throat, her collarbone, her breasts. When she was bare beneath him, he paused, just looking. "What?" she asked, breathless. "Nothing. Everything. Sometimes I can't believe you're real, that you chose this. Chose me?" She pulled him down, kissed him deeply. "Every day. I choose you every day." He made love to her with aching tenderness, whispering how much he loved her, how she'd saved him, how he'd spend his life making sure she never regretted this choice. And when they lay tangled together after, both sated and sleepy, he pressed a kiss to her temple. "Do you ever regret it?" he asked quietly. "Choosing this? Choosing me?" She pretended to think about it. Every day he froze. She grinned. "I regret that I didn't choose you sooner." He huffed a laugh, tickled her in retaliation. She shrieked, and he covered her mouth with his hand, both of them laughing like kids. "I love you," he said when they'd calmed down. "Even when you're a brat, I love you too, even when you're impossible." They fell asleep like that, wrapped around each other, and outside their window, the city glittered, full of promise and possibility. The next morning, Sunday, lazy and slow, Julian found Ilara in the study again, working on something on her laptop. He leaned against the doorframe, just watching her, hair piled messily on her head, wearing one of his shirts, completely focused. She was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. She looked up, caught him staring. "What?" "Nothing. You're doing the thing." "What thing?" "The thing where you look at me like—" She stopped, flustered. He crossed to her, pulled her up from the chair and into his arms. "Like I'm completely in love with you. Like you're the best thing that ever happened to me. Like I still can't quite believe you're mine. Yeah, that thing. Get used to it. I plan on looking at you like that for the next 60 years. She softened, resting her head against his chest. "Only 60? Fine, 70, maybe 80 if we're lucky." They swayed together in the quiet study, sunlight streaming through windows, and everything was exactly as it should be. "So," Ilara said after a moment, pulling back with a mischievous smile. "Office or bedroom?" He raised an eyebrow. "It's 10 a.m., and we have a teenager and her girlfriend downstairs. They're walking the dog. We have at least 30 minutes. His hands slid down to her hips. "You're insatiable. You're complaining. Never." He backed her toward the desk. "But just so we're clear, you started this." "I started it 6 months ago when I agreed to marry you." "You started it a year ago when you walked into my building and argued with security." She laughed, and he swallowed the sound with a kiss, lifting her onto the desk, stepping between her thighs. "You know what I thought that first day?" He murmured against her mouth. "That I was annoying. That you were the most dangerously beautiful thing I've ever seen, and that I was already in trouble. And now," he kissed down her neck, hands sliding under her shirt. His shirt. "Now I'm completely ruined, and I wouldn't have it any other way." She pulled him closer, fingers threading through his hair. "Then ruin me back." He did thoroughly and slowly until they were both breathless and laughing and completely, perfectly in love. They'd fought so hard not to fall. They'd failed beautifully. And in the end, failing had been the best decision either of them had ever made. The end. If Julian and Ilara's journey left you breathless, if you found yourself rooting for them through every obstacle, every moment of doubt, every passionate reunion, then you've just experienced the kind of romance that doesn't just entertain, it transforms. This is a story about two people who had every reason to stay apart and every reason to fight for each other. It's about choosing love over fear, vulnerability over control, and partnership over protection. Want more stories like this? Subscribe now to join the Pride family. Also, rate this story from 1 to 10 and comment your favorite moment below. Do take care of yourself. I'll see you in my next story. Lots of love. Moral lesson and life skill. The courage of authenticity over optics. The profound moral of Ilara and Julian's story is that true security is found in vulnerability, not in the walls we build to protect ourselves. For 20 years, Julian Sterling lived behind a fortress of optics and control, believing that being cold and strategic was the only way to safeguard his daughter and his empire. He treated his life like a merger, avoiding the messiness of passion because he feared the destruction it might bring. However, the story teaches us that you cannot truly protect what you refuse to fully inhabit. By trying to be safe, Julian was actually empty. The life skill. Agency in the face of scandal. Ilara's journey teaches us the essential life skill of standing in one's own truth when the world attempts to narrate your story for you. When the scandal broke, Julian's first instinct was to hide Ilara, to protect her. But Ilara realized that being hidden is just another way of being silenced. She taught Julian, and us, that when you are being attacked by those who don't know you, the only opinion that matters is the one held by the people who truly do. Conclusion. Never sacrifice a once-in-a-lifetime love or a deep personal conviction at the altar of what people might think. Public opinion is a fickle shadow, but the peace of mind that comes from being brave enough to love and be loved is a permanent light. Bravery isn't the absence of fear. It is the realization that something else, like love and family, is more important than that fear.